You are watching Linux Mint 13 XFCE Bootcamp. In this final episode, I will give you an overview of some of the default applications that come preloaded in Linux Mint 13 XFCE Edition, and we will do that right after I roll the intro. Now that we are at our final episode in the Linux Mint 13 XFCE Bootcamp, let's wind back to the beginning where we installed Linux Mint alongside Windows. Well, by now you should be loving Linux Mint so much that you have decided you do not want to use your Windows partition anymore. If this is the case, in this episode, towards the end here, I am going to show you how to safely remove that Windows partition so that now you will have more room for Linux. So, I'm going to go ahead and reboot into our machine, and we're going to start today's exercise. We're going to boot into Linux Mint, and I'm going to briefly cover some of the default applications that came pre-installed with this. I figured the series would not be complete without this. I'm not going to go in heavy detail with all of the applications that come pre-installed, but at least you'll get an idea of some of the applications that you do get. Then you'll be able to experiment and play around and that sort of thing. If you've completed the series up to this point, you may have a desktop that looks similar to this, or you may have done some other customizations and that sort of thing. And I hope you guys were able to get a whole bunch out of this series. I can tell you it was a lot of fun. I've even earned a few gray hairs as a result of putting this together for you guys. Okay, we're fully booted into our system. I'm not running compiz effects or anything fancy schmancy right now, but we do have our Mint menu right here. And let's begin. Okay, some of the things you're going to notice that come up right away is you do have the Firefox web browser and the Thunderbird mail client. Now, I like the Thunderbird mail client a lot better than the Outlook Express that ships with some Windows installations. You also get Pigeon, which is an internet messenger. Now, some people can correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe this was originally called GAIM, G-A-I-M, back in the early days of Linux, which allowed you to access all of the major instant messaging platforms out there, such as MSN, Google, Yahoo, and I even think you can get ICQ on this thing. I don't use instant messaging, so I'm not going to be able to provide an effective demonstration on this. And you also get the Banshee Media Player here, which will allow you to manage all of your video and music files. Now, obviously, this is a virtual machine, so I don't have any music files and that sort of thing installed on this. But you can actually tell this to search out that media, and it will categorize everything for you so you can easily access your music, your audiobooks, all of your videos, podcasts, radio, and that sort of thing. You can even get online media with this. So some people feel this is a valuable tool. Personally, myself, I actually uninstalled this because I have my own method of media management, and you know, I pretty much play everything with one player. All right, let's go into applications here. In the games category, you'll notice we have a new one. It is Play on Linux because we installed this yesterday for working with Wine. All right, and then in graphics, you get the GIMP, which is probably the most comprehensive graphics editor that comes with Linux. Unfortunately, this is version 2.6. You may want to update your PPAs if you want a later version. But pretty much, this is your comprehensive tool for editing your images and creating new graphics and that sort of thing. All in all, very, very nice. You also have a thumbnail viewer here as well as the events document viewer. Now, the events document viewer will pretty much open up most documents that are out there that people would send you. It's great for viewing PDFs. It also views comic book files, which have the CBZ extension on them, so you don't have to download a separate comic book viewer. This will open those up for you. And you also have the Ristretto image viewer where you can look at images easily as well. In Internet, you also get, I've already spoke about Pigeon and Thunderbird, you also get the Transmission BitTorrent client. It's very simple and easy to use. However, I recommend trying out Deluge. That one happens to be my favorite. And then, of course, you get the XChat IRC program, which is great for communicating online, especially if you're having issues with Linux Mint. There is a Linux Mint chat room that you can get into, and you can ask live people questions, and there are people in the community that are always willing to help. You can also visit us on the Linux distro community, and you can check out any of my Zoo Crew episodes. It'll give you instructions on how to connect to us, and you can visit us in the Linux distro community chat room. There are people there that are always willing to help, and who knows, you might even see me in there from time to time. You can throw some questions at me, and if I know the answers, I'll try my best to help you out along the way, but there are also other people out there that are always willing to help. In Office, you get the full LibreOffice suite. And the LibreOffice suite is a fork of OpenOffice.org. Now, this is as comprehensive as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, for a graphics program, for a Office program, this has it all. You can create your text documents, you can create a spreadsheet, you can create a presentation or PowerPoint. You have a drawing, database, and of course you can do your formulas and that sort of thing. And the nice thing about this is if somebody sends you a Microsoft Office document, this will open them. However, if you write back to the proprietary Office format, you may lose some formatting and that sort of thing. I recommend using the open document formats, which the LibreOffice suite is well known for, and does a magnificent job on it. This also has a number of templates as well to help you get those projects started. Personally, I don't use this very often. I actually uninstalled LibreOffice 3 in favor of just installing AbiWord, because all I really need is a really nice text editor, and I didn't want the rest of these programs taking up drive space, so I actually uninstalled this one. Okay, and in Other here, you're going to notice that you have some things for Wine. For configuring Wine, you can browse your virtual C drive. This is Notepad, which is a clone of the Windows Notepad, and you can uninstall Wine software here. In Sound and Video, you get Brasero for creating CDs and DVDs. In my case, I actually uninstalled this software, and I installed XFBurn. I like it a lot better, and I've had less trouble with Brasero. I've had trouble burning some CDs and DVDs, but it is here, and some of you may have better results than I have had. You also get an audio mixer, which is a very useful tool here for you, which will allow you to select your controls for the different items that you may have plugged into your computer, and you just pretty much just go into this, select which controls you want, and why not just check them all just for laughs and giggles here, or most of them. and then close. Now you're going to see that you have a huge list of these. Also, of greater interest, you have access to this through your volume control. If I click here and click on sound settings, you will see that you have quick access to this mixer right here. There are also other options that are available to you just by clicking through these tabs. You also get the sound recorder for recording a few little sound clips, a movie player, which is Totem, and this also has the Genome M player. I use this actually. I don't use Totem quite as often because it doesn't have any it doesn't provide you any options for using your graphics card and using accelerated graphics for video, so you may get a little bit of tearing by using Totem. Then, of course, you get the VLC media player. Now, interestingly enough, though, if you did install the XFCE Goodies package, as I described in an earlier part of this video, you will have XFBurn already installed here. So that's a good one for you guys. All right, and then, of course, there are a number of system tools. We installed BleachBit for cleaning up the system in the beginning of the series. I hope you all are making good use of that. You also have the GW package installer. So if you download a deb file and you double click on it, GW will pick that up and allow you to install those applications. Also, you have a task manager. This is a wonderful program. This will keep an eye on any applications that are running, and by pressing the buttons here at the top, you can have these organized by the amount of CPU they're using, such as the task manager at this point is using the most CPU. But the nice thing about this is the fact that if you have a program that has frozen up on you, you will be able to click on that icon, right click on it, and select what you want it to do. Do you want to stop it, kill it, terminate it? You can set its priority to very high, from very high to very low. So you have some nice options here. Great for killing that program that just went haywire. And you can get those resources back. All right. And then, of course, this comes with the Thunar File Manager, which is your default file manager. I've actually grown to love this. Let's open this up. I want to show you guys a few things that you can do. You can change its appearance here. All right, now, personally, I really don't care for the way it's laid out, and this is the default layout for the Thunar File Manager, but you can change this. For instance, maybe you want a toolbar style, where now you have the directory locations, and you can copy and paste this information into the terminal. Let me show you an example here. Let's go ahead and navigate into music. Right-click copy. All right, and then we can open up the terminal. Let's say we downloaded a package in here by pressing F12, and we can issue a command cd space, and then right-click, paste, and enter. Now you'll see that we're in our music directory. So you don't have to muck about with typing all of these different directories and that sort of thing. You can easily navigate. And so I like that feature because I'm really not one of these hyper-typer kind of, I'm a copy-paste kind of guy, so that kind of works out nicely for me. All right, and then, of course, everything you need for backing up and managing your system is right here. You have apt-on-CD here. Now this will create an installation disk for you. Any files that you have downloaded and installed on your system, apt-on-CD will allow you to create an installation disk. You have a few backup tools here. If you followed this series, you should have the Compiz Fusion icon, which is also right down here, where you can choose which desktop environment you want. If you want to have the wobbly windows and all of the other stuff, it's here. If you want to protect your computer, you can configure your firewall, which will block any traffic that you don't want going into or leaving your system. You can also configure your login window here, and this is a nice little feature that comes with Mint. We're going to put in our password on this, and give it a moment here for it to load up. Now you can change the way it appears. There are a number of settings to play with, so I recommend that you just go through them and pull the knobs, press the buttons, try and break it. Explore around a little bit. Experimentation is key. Then, of course, a number of network tools, printing a program for allowing you to configure those printers. Make sure that you have the right PPT files for your printers so that you can get them working. Now let's talk about the software manager. I have not really covered the software manager in much detail because I personally prefer the Synaptic Package Manager for adding and removing programs. But this can be a useful tool for many of you newcomers to Linux because this will give you an idea of some of the softwares that are available that you can try. And many of these programs are rated by other users like yourself. So you know that if you're looking at a piece of software that maybe doesn't have that many stars on it, maybe that might not be a package that would be interesting to you. Let's go into sound and video as an example here, and you will see there are a number of applications that are listed in here, and surprisingly I'm not seeing any stars appear on any of these. In the past I have seen items that were rated. We'll go into games here and see if we're going to see any ratings in there. Okay, here we go. Now we're seeing some programs with ratings on them. Alright, such as Wesnoth. This is a very popular game. 202 ratings, 126 reviews, 4 stars. This might be a pretty cool game, so let's click on it. Okay, and it gives you a screenshot of the game and a description. So if you click on this, you'll actually be able to see a larger screenshot, and then of course an install button. Now let's say you already have the program installed and you don't want it anymore. If you go into this software manager and select, you will be able to uninstall it. However, I've noticed sometimes it doesn't remove them. This is why I prefer the Synaptic Package Manager, because the Synaptic Package Manager, at least in my personal experience, does a better job of removing those programs. So you'll definitely want to explore that program as well. Okay, and pretty much, oh, the NDIS wrapper. Why didn't I mention this before? Now, the NDIS wrapper will allow you to take a Windows wireless driver to see if you can get that working. So, because there are so many different wireless interfaces out there, and not all of them are going to work. So you can try to use this utility to grab a Windows driver for your wireless interface to get that working under Linux. Personally, I've never had to use this application before, but I've heard a lot of people singing this a lot of praises, so this may be an option for you. Also, you have a link to your update manager. You'll see I have it right here, and it looks like there's an update that is available, but I'm not going to install that right now. Okay, and then of course, under preferences, you have a number of things available to you. You can add additional drivers, such as third-party and proprietary graphics drivers, a Bluetooth manager, your Compiz settings, if you installed that, a disk utility for managing drives and multimedia. You get the Emerald Theme Manager for managing your window borders. That is if you followed along with us to install Emerald. We compiled that from source, so that would not be in here if you did not install that. Okay, you also have another link to the Thunar File Manager, the Gwake preferences, which, of course, you can easily access if you follow this series. When you press F12 to bring up your terminal, you can right-click and go into Preferences here, and there you are. So you don't even have to access that from the menu. Okay, you also have your ICE-T web control. This is for your Java on your web browser. Language, you get an input method switcher, language support, and pretty much all the other tools that are necessary for getting the most out of the system. You can configure your screensaver. A lot of these screensavers are not enabled by default, you will notice. So what you will need to do is open up Synaptic Package Manager and do a search for X Screensaver and install as many of them as you want. And then those screensaver options will be available to you when you open this program. Software sources, we've covered this in the last episode where we actually added a PPA. Make sure that when you are manually adding software sources using this applet, make sure that you have everything pointing to precise if you are using the Linux Mint 13 XFCE edition, because if it's pointing to Maya, you're going to get an error report. And then, of course, the welcome screen that we have closed down. Let's go ahead and click on this. You may need to come back to this from time to time. And from here, you can get to that chat room, if necessary, on XChat IRC. There are other tutorials, and of course the forums. I highly recommend you folks make good use of the forums, and not only just Linux Mint's forums, but Ubuntu's forums are really good. Also, check out the Pinguy OS forums. They have a link to the Pinguy OS problem solver, and I'm going to actually put a link to that in the show notes for you guys. The Pinguy OS problem solver pulls all of the Ubuntu-based distribution websites, or most of them anyway, and it will help you to easily find the answers you're looking for. So I'm going to definitely put that one in as well. So pretty much that's the rundown on most of the applications that come pre-installed with this. Now, let's go ahead and safely remove Windows. I absolutely love Linux. I don't want Windows anymore. I don't want all the headaches associated with it. I want the new headaches associated with Linux. So how do we do that? Okay, the first thing we need to do is we need to boot our computer with a live CD. So let me go ahead and choose that virtual disk. And then, of course, we are running Linux Mint 13 XFCE 64-bit. So that's the distribution that we're going to need to use here. And, of course, I need to do a force unmount, because I had guest editions for Windows XP. Alright, now our CD has been mounted. Let's go ahead and restart our machine now. Okay, now that we're booted into our live DVD, CD, whatever. Okay, we need to run gparted. And here it is in the system. Okay, now we will see here that we have this on an extended partition with a Linux swap, okay? And then in our main drive on SDA1, this is Windows partition here. And so what we want to do is we want to delete this partition. Let's see if we can resize this. Looks like we are on an extended partition. Let's see what we can do here. Alright, first we need to turn swap off so that we can do some management on this volume. Now we can resize this partition. And then let's resize this to take up all the space. Okay, got a few little operations here, and now that we are done, we can press Apply All Operations. This, of course, will take a while to complete, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. Okay, now that this is completed, we can go ahead and close this. Let's see if we can reboot into our system, and we will select Restart. Under Devices here, I'm going to remove the virtual disk from the drive. Okay, it looks like we are able to boot into our system, but the difference is now there is no Windows. But we can actually repair grub. Alright, and we are in, like Flynn. Okay, now that we're booted back into our system and everything's working correctly, let's go ahead and open up our terminal. And now we need to issue a command. Sudo update -grub. We'll put in our password. And it's generating a new grub configuration file. And now it is done. Okay, so now let's go ahead and reboot the computer by pressing sudo reboot. Now you will see Windows is no longer in the list. And we'll go ahead and we will now boot into our operating system. Helps to type in the correct password. Okay, now we're a bunch of happy penguins, and Linux is now exclusive on the hard drive. No more Windows. Now, there is a different operation that you would have to do if you had Linux installed first, and then you installed Windows afterwards. And I believe I have that covered somewhere on my channel. But at any rate, it looks like we are running well, and now we've got our hard drive completely dedicated to the Linux Mint 13 XFCE edition. And this concludes the Linux Mint 13 XFCE Bootcamp. I hope you all have enjoyed this series as much as I have enjoyed bringing this to you. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to put them in the space below. But also, if you are running into a few bumps in the road, I highly recommend that you check out the Linux Mint forums or the Ubuntu forums. That is how I learned how to use Linux. I did a lot of searching using Mr. Google as my friend, and I found the answers I was looking for. And Linux has really enriched my life in many different ways, and I hope you find that same satisfaction that I have.